Welcome to Dark Tales of Inner West Sydney, tales of true crime and mystery to tantalise and terrify. Tonight's tale is the savage murder of Henry Travescus. A thoroughly unpleasant affair set in the now genteel suburb of Glebe in Sydney's inner west. Located close to the city, Glebe is a place of transitions from the rich kangaroo parklands that were around at the start of the colony where the university now sits. We look across the road and travel up to the Glebe Point. From its start at Broadway, the road climbs from this poorer, more industrialised end up to the vast villas of the rich and wealthy. Our story tonight is set at the bottom end, from a room next to a rowdy pub and above a commercial laundry. We find Henry Travescus, so draw in, take a comfy seat, and I'll begin. Halloween is always a scary time of year, but in 1911, for one man, Henry Travescus, it was particularly traumatic. For on this day, Henry lost his life. Travescus was found lying face down on his apartment floor some days later after his murder by his daughter. His body had 3 cuts on the back of the head with a large quantity of blood on the floor. It was later found that his spinal column had been severed. A plough coulter, a blade attached to the front of a plough to cut through the soil, was found nearby and was suspected as the murder weapon. Police were perplexed. They started investigating and they were asking around, and they slowly unpacked Henry's last few days on this earth. It was found that on those last few days, Henry was in the company of a younger man called Campbell Nairn Moyer, and this man was arrested and brought in for questioning. According to witnesses, Henry had visited the technical college at Ultimo in the company of this young man to negotiate with the college about the purchase of some metal sweepings for his business. The young man, it emerged, was indeed Campbell Nairn Moyer, and he'd been suffering with a mental affliction. At the inquest into Henry Travescus's murder, the superintendent of Callan Park, Dr. Chisholm Ross, told the court that Moyer was a mental weakling. A young woman, an employee at Eldridge & Co. Dryers, which had occupied the shop premises downstairs from Travescus's apartment, pointed Moyer out in court as a frequent visitor to the address and that he had been there at 9 a.m. on the day of the murder. The witness, Irene Levy, told the inquest that at 9 a.m. Moyer gone upstairs to Travescus's apartment and a short time later had come back down and asked Irene strangely for some brown paper. A few moments later, Irene said that she heard a heavy vibration and the ceiling shook. She then saw Moyer come back down and left the building. Travescus's daughter then told the inquest that she had called by some time later to see her father. However, a note on the door of the apartment, written on brown paper, presumably left by the killer, said, "I am out of town, headed to Goulburn and will not be back until Friday the 3rd of November. So Travescus's daughter left, unaware that her father was likely dying or dead on the other side of the door at this time. One of the many newspapers covering the case, the Wagga Wagga Express, reported in detail on the witness account of the arresting officer, one Constable Percival Ramsey. On the morning of the 23rd of November, Ramsey reported that he had entered the cell of Moyer, who was under arrest, and said to him, "It's a nice mess you've got yourself into. Whatever prompted you to do it?" And Moyer had responded, I'll tell you what happened in confidence. And the constable then shared with the court what Moya had said. On the Saturday before I left Sydney, I met a Russian, and I proposed that we should rob Travescus. On Tuesday following, I went into the building, I went upstairs, and the Russian came in. And I introduced him to Travescus as a friend. And when Travescus had his back to the Russian hit him on the head with an iron bar. And he fell to the floor. I went downstairs and asked the girl for a piece of paper, and I came back and put the paper on the door with the note. Moya then said that he'd left the building and went to the tram station opposite and waited for the Russian to leave. At 9:30 a.m, the Russian apparently came out of the building and told Moya that he had taken £50 from Travescus's apartment. This sum, Moya said, he split with the Russian. However, Moya's story appeared to be full of holes. The name of the Russian that Moya gave to the police was identified by an interpreter as not being a Russian name, and police inquiries failed to locate him. As the Singleton Argus reported on the 5th of December, the inquest closed and the accused, Moya, was committed to stand trial. He was sentenced to life in prison for the murder. An article on the 20th of August 1926 in the Scone Advocate called Lifers caught up with Moya some 15 years after the crime. By that time, Moya had been in prison for almost 14 years after being charged with Travescus's murder. According to the article, Moya was called by the prison guards one of the cheeriest spirits on the jail. Apparently, Moya plays and sings and is one of the best concert organisers. So it sounds like Moya ended up well. If you like tales about the dark history of inner West Sydney, please go to www.darktales.com.au.